Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Gray. So Gray, welcome.
Hi.
So Gray, you finally got your officially type. I think you actually typed yourself mostly correct. I think there was only like two animals that was like flip, but
Yeah, so it's one coin flip, yeah.
yeah, but can you tell us the full animal stack?
So I was typed as I'm an ENTJ, but I'm an ENTJ jumper, so I am TESE instead of TENI. I am double masculine, which means that TE and the SE are both masculine. They're very intense, they're Chevy. And then so that those two functions together create play. The follow-up is then I'm going to my TE and I'm my NI and I'm going to move into blast. And then instead of continuing down the extroverted line, after I play, after I blast, so, expending energy, teaching, I then move into sleep where I'm preserving energy, I'm slowing down. And that sleep is Ni and Fi, which are inverse to the Te and Se, both feminine. So very wibbly wobbly sleep. And then finally, very at the bottom, consume is last, and that is my Se and my Fi interacting.
So you are a jumper ENTJ, not the standard one. Play, blast, sleep, consume, and then it was the sleep and consume that was flipped because you
Yeah.
thought you were consume sleep, but you were sleep consume.
Yep.
So how did that flip occur with the sleep consume and whatnot?
So basically, I had been on Ben's channel and I had the interview there because I pretty much thought I nailed it down. And like he was like, sure, come on, let's talk about things. And then also I started my own YouTube channel and I was talking about my own things. And Dave and Shannon ended up watching the videos and the interview. And so then it was kind of this setup where it became a like I found out from a friend because he had asked Shan what my type was, and so then it turned out she had seen things, and that both Dave and Shan had actually gone through and typed me. So I was like, well, might as well have Shan on the show now that I was gonna wait. I was gonna actually send in and like try to get a type, and it was like, oh, I was only one coin off. I actually didn't embarrass myself. Go me. So from there, I was just kind of like, well, I'll invite Shay on the show, and she pretty much confirmed everything I just said. Where it's like, yeah, you are just a little more blasty than you realize, a little more energy dominant, more energy dominant, more goofy than you realize, a little less zoomed in on the sensory, a little less zoomed in on you know, the back and forth of information, much more focused on up and down, up and down. So
I see, gotcha.
yeah.
Um, so you are I think it's always interesting for me to talk to people who have play first but then consume last because it's almost like a contradiction because you're using play to like get information from people because you're pinging off people all the time, but then you consume last, so you're not thinking anything new. So how does that work for you? That's really good, like interesting.
So, okay, I'll pull from the class because that's kind of easy way to pull it. Like they talk about like the most unwilling to take in new would be the sleep blast play IJs. Like that's the not the sleep blast. Like that's no new because play and consume are both demons, right?
Right.
And the blast play IJs and EJs, they have a little bit easier of a time because they've got play forcing them to go gather more.
Right.
And the EJs have it additionally easier because we're double observers. We're not as freaked out about things. And then the people of the easiest time with consume last is going to be the play first EJs or the play first EPs
Right.
that are consume last, kind of like me or Felicia Day. We're willing to go gather new information. It's a savior for us. It's comfortable. We're either double observing as EJs or as like if you're the EP or Felicia Day, she's NE first. So she's like, yeah, I have to go get more new concepts. I'm responsible for that to the extreme. I need variety. So I get new, but it's only in this like I do a lot of back and forth. It's very much where I'm learning from other people, and I tend to consume based off what other people show me, and then I latch on that and I will then do it for myself. It's very much I have to be shown it from the tribe. I don't go out by myself and develop my own taste. And especially for me, it's not so much new that's the problem, it's the self part. As an EJ, the self, the DI, the FI, that is anathema, get the hell out of my life. It's a problem for me that I do that, but that's where I'm going to be, where the real screwing up is refusing to look at the self, learn more about myself. That's kind of more where it is. It's not so much new in like the sensory way or like about how making things work. I can make things work all day. Even by myself, I'll do that. But learning about myself, get the hell out of here. So yeah,
Um,
that's for me.
so Dave said even with his consume last that it's hard for him to do things for himself, like enjoyable things for himself. So do you struggle with that as well? Like if it's just for you, finding that what's quirky for Gray and doing that thing that you enjoy, it's not something that Tribe recommended to you. It was just like, it's kind of like your own thing. Dave likes to fly those radio controlled airplanes. So
Yeah.
for you, do you have like something that is just Gray that like you like to consume and or do for fun, on your free time?
I guess there's a couple things that I do. Like I do enjoy playing video games. I have like, it's kind of like I'll grab it and there'll become like a little box of just that kind of video game. So it takes me a while before I'll try a new one.
Yeah.
But I do just like I'll play video games just for myself. Food is a big one. I would say my number one area of like spending that's not like for a specific need is food, because I will go, it's usually a lot of the same food, but that's what will help change emotional states for me is food or music. And I struggle to do new there, but I've been trying to really practice new music, new food, kind of doing that sort of thing to expand that consume window. That would be where I'm trying to expand it, but it's really hard to do it. I don't want to. I don't like doing it. So it's really, I have a lot of resistance there. Uh, it's getting better. And then the other thing is like, for example, I've got my painting back here. Like a lot of times, like we bought this because I have actually a whole bunch of boat paintings and water paintings all around the apartment actually. And we only have those because like when we went shopping, I was like, I really like these and I really like blue and you like blue, so can we get them? And my husband was like, yeah, sure. They're not that expensive. Go for it. Buy whatever you want. And I was like, whatever I want, so I can buy 4 paintings in one day. And he was like, wait, what? And so then suddenly the apartment is populated with paintings because he gave me permission. I just went hog wild, like mad woman towards it. So it's kind of like I'm waiting for the permission, and then when I get it, I go way too far. As I kind of would put it that way. I get
Yeah.
that way with books. I'll buy a new book, I'll read it in a day, and if I really like it, and if I don't like it, I never read it. So there's like there's no like normal with the consume. If I never do it, so when I do it, I just swing so hard into it that everyone's like, okay, tone it down. We don't need this, or I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's
So
all
that's
good.
my understanding.
Yeah. Well, no, that's so cool that you love those paintings and you found some things that you like for yourself that you consume.
Yeah.
As an EJ, like your husband's kind of like looking at you in a weird way, because like you're, because EJs get weird about themselves, which is it's all good, it is what it is. And there was I had a thought that just flew out of my head. I really like FI because FI is so interesting because everyone has like some quirky things that they like.
Yeah.
In the Facebook group once I did like an FI bucket list thing, and then I said, okay, what is your FI? What's in your FI bucket list? And then one person said, oh, one of my dreams to have a pet penguin. I'm like, it doesn't get any more FI than that. Like a pet
Yeah,
penguin.
like why a penguin? Because we can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah, there's a lot of because I want to in FI, and I really like that. And I get very protective actually of other people's FI. It's
yeah.
like, oh, they don't feel safe about sharing it because I don't feel safe about sharing it. So I must protect them. You can't poop on their FI. You have to keep it safe. It's important. And they're like, yeah, totally great. It's fine. You're fine. Everyone's fine. Knock it off.
Yeah.
It is very interesting. We all have our little I zones. Even people who don't have FI, everyone does everything. So it's
Yeah.
fun to see everybody's FI come out to play.
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting that you're projecting your own feelings into other people, which is cool. You're protective, right? Let's go with your savior first.
Okay.
Play. Double masculine play. I notice people with masculine SE, they like to like hit people and whatnot and like bash things. So are you like, with that SE, do you like to be physical with things? Like when you see people, do you like punch them in the arm or like, I don't know if you like to lift weights, but a lot of people with masculine SE, like they like to like smash the weights on the floor, they're not like subtle when it comes to like physical stuff. So, or like they like to throw projectiles. Like Dave always talks about like hucking something across the room when he's pissed. So do you do any of that?
Oh yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I've definitely like I can tone it down, especially in like a normal conversation, but you can see like you can watch it right now. I'm gonna have the masculine sensory movement. It's very heavy, like my hands are solid. I am shoving, I am pushing, I am moving. And it's never like I can't even do it. It never looks right. It's not relaxed and flowy. It's still precise movement. It's very grounded.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, as soon as the emotions kick up, positive, negative, doesn't matter what kind of emotions, they hijack. My understanding of people is that we have kind of three selves. We have our introverted, so our introverted functions, that's one part of ourself, like our like deep self. Then we have the demons, so those don't always have to be introverted, but if they are, that makes it worse. And then three, the SF is our like our animal that instinctually reacts because it's reacting to how we feel in the immediate moment. It's very animalistic in one way. It's obviously more complicated than that. Before I hear anybody come after me, it's more complicated, but for me, it's very animalistic. And as soon as the emotions move, the SE just goes flying right with it. So then I get very aggressive, I get very physical. And even when I'm happy, I'll be touching, I'll be happy. I'll bounce around like this,
Yeah.
like around people, like in public, I will bounce around like that when my FI is positive. I have to show physically what's going on. And when I'm angry, the entire body language suddenly becomes rigid and the jaw flexes and I'm like, I would love to hit you right now. And it's like the tension just amps up and it's so physical. And yeah, I eat things. I throw things all the time. I've 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 started like I have like a very ritualistic when I'm angry. I'm like, and I walk away and I grab a pillow and I make sure I'm like, the dog is not here, the human's not here, I'm all alone in this room and yeet. It's very like violent and aggressive and it's very masculine, messy, not pleasant emotion, but it gets the physical energy out. And that is a huge demand in my life. So it's definitely, I fit a lot of the stereotypes. Got the dark hair, got the nice muscular neck, got the, giant hands. I fit the stereotype of masculine SE very, very well. I perform it. Anyone who interacts with me in real life, as soon as I describe masculine sense, they're like, yeah, that's you, 100%. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah, I am the stereotype.
Stereotype. I noticed people with masculine SE, regardless on their animal stack, not masculine SE, but
Mhm.
double masculine or masculine feminine people in general, they can't sit still. Like they're always like fidgeting and stuff. So are you that kind of person? Like you're always like fidgeting and moving around and you can't sit still?
I have so there's kind of like there's three different pieces to that. One, double masculines tend to be very movement oriented because we're kinesthetic learners. Like me moving my hands when I'm talking to you helps me talk to you and keep my thoughts organized because I'm feeling as I hit the end of the sentence, I just felt the sentence end in a low as my voice goes lower, my hands go lower. My voice, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I have to show you physically what's happening. So that's one part of the wiggles, the double masculine part where I to understand my world, I physically move through it. Then on top of that, I am consume last, which means I struggle to take in information, especially from other people, especially in general. I do struggle with that, just to take it in and have it sit instead of immediately throw the ball back. So I will oftentimes wiggle and fidget and move to kind of get some of that energy out so I can actually listen and hear you. So I will use the kinesthetics to actually move to the audio section of learning, or you'll see me like sip at my drink,
Yeah.
something to kind of get some of the energy out. So definitely wiggly there. And then the third thing, I have ADHD, like full on very high, like tested, highfalutin testing, very fancy testing, spent a lot of money on the testing because I didn't want to play around with it. And that aggravates everything else in my type to be way more wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I can't stop moving.
Yeah.
I have to be all over the place. So yeah, three parts to answer your question because I
Right.
can't stop blasting today.
It's all good. Um, I like how you were saying earlier that you use your hands to kind of, to emphasize, the tone or the
Mhm.
end of the speech. I felt like it's almost like, and it makes me wonder now if you go to like an orchestra, the conductor, if they're double masculine because they're like, controlling like the movement of the sound. Just because of the, like when, things are moving, they move their hand based on, the emotion of the song, I guess. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I mean, you could make an argument for it. I don't know that it's something I've actually like. I wouldn't dismiss it out of hand. I don't know that it's a fully accurate pattern, but I wouldn't dismiss it at all because I'm just thinking about like there's a lot of different styles of conducting, right? And that I think you could definitely pick out someone's modalities by watching them conduct.
right.
Because for me, like I was like the way I was trained is very like marching band way of training, which is very like, just like this and like very stiff, right? And that's just a very standard, 4/4 time, very basic movement. But you can see it's very rigid. It's well suited for marching band, which is again very rigid movements. We're moving in specific shapes, trying to create a specific thing. You're going to need a lot of ST, a lot of solidity there, and so that makes sense. That's how we're trained. But then you have, someone who's, and now we're doing a waltz and we're moving and we're playing and it's fluid. And that might be, I can't do it properly because my double masculinity shows up whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
But you can see that might be someone who's much more comfortable, like they're doing much bigger sweeping motions, they're more fluid. You might see that they're double feminine, or perhaps someone is like maybe a conductor who's kind of always like they're doing things with their hands, but their like ear is always like pushed towards the orchestra. Maybe that's more someone in the audio spectrum, or maybe someone who's kind of like looking up and like almost synesthetic. Maybe they're like more of a visual. I think you could probably pick, the point is, as I ramble, I'm pretty sure you could probably pick out the modalities by watching someone conduct, because the easiest way to pick out the modalities is through the body, I've noticed. So that's my take on conductors plus modalities, all that good stuff.
So we kind of so with masculine SE, do you have a really good memory then? Would you say, like, you tend to remember facts that you've gathered before?
I would say it's like a weird contradiction, because I can remember a lot of things and I have a lot of blast, but like the place that, like, a lot of the SE for me is like a lot more like I'm obligated to it, and at the same time I'm not. And that's a weird contradiction for me. But where it's really showing up is it's kind of like I'll remember a lot of things. That's where the memory sits. But what all I'm trying to use that for is communicating to other people. And if I don't need that to communicate to other people, I'm throwing it out. And that is, I think, where it's like a contradiction of, yeah, decent memory, but I don't think I have the best memory ever. Like I don't think it's great example. I don't know if you're familiar with her, you probably are, but sorry, asthma's a pain in the butt. But Kim Jansen, who's an ESTJ, double masculine as well, she's a masculine SI savior. That's a memory. I don't have that. I'm nowhere near that level of memory. So I think it's good, not great, not the best in the world.
Right. Yeah, like Tiger Woods has super like pristine memory. It's insane.
Yeah, not me, not me at all.
I mean, the SI has a slightly better memory than SE, right? But what about your masculine TE? Are you the kind of person that like feels like you know what's good for other people and you kind of enforce that, like what's going to work for them, with the masculine TE?
I don't consciously think that. It's happening, and I know it's happening because I'll catch myself blasting and like telling people what to do. I will catch myself educating. I just sat here. I have no idea how much experience you have in music. I just sat here and music explained at you conducting. You probably, maybe you already knew that, maybe you didn't matter. I felt obligated to tell you how it worked, so that way, and anybody else who ever listens, to tell them how it works, because what if they don't know? They need my information, don't they? They don't necessarily need it,
Yeah.
but my brain is wired to be like, I know how this works. I have to tell you how it works, because then you know how it works, and we can all then go off and BFI once we all know how it works. It's
Gotcha.
kind of very much a huge obligation to blast, massive obligation to communicate and help other people, despite that getting, being a pain sometimes and getting me into trouble.
So sleep is oftentimes correlated with setting boundaries with the tribe. But I noticed that with individuals who are masculine with a tribe to begin with, that they don't need to use sleep to set boundaries with a tribe because they're already kind of like intimidating with the tribe. So the tribe doesn't even bother to kind of cross them. Because I've interviewed Evelyn before, who's double masculine, NATE, and she's like, I've never had problems with setting boundaries. I'm like, must be the masculine TE that then you don't need to do that because you're already intimidating on the front end, right? Like you already have a shield so people don't cross you to begin with. So if sleep is not being used to set boundaries in your case, then with that play and sleep axis, then how are you balancing it? Is it purely just expending energy for the tribe and preserving energy later on, or like how are you? It's also interesting.
How am I using sleep?
It's also double feminine sleep, so it's quite different from what I'm used to hearing from people. So how do you experience that double feminine sleep?
Okay, so there's a lot in there, so I'm going to try and address in order. So if I forget something, we'll see what happens with the channel changing. But first and foremost, I do think actually sleep is part of boundary establishing for me, but not like if I'm having a conflict right then and I'm willing to actually like swing out, that's when the TE is really useful. I can establish it right then and there. It's very quick, it's off the cuff, it's natural for me. But if I, especially in a longer term relationship where something is building up over time, I still have to figure out what's the pattern here? How do I feel about it? What do I want to do? That is where the sleep kicks in, is in a long-term situation. The TE doesn't help me because the TE is keyed for it, not depth. It's keyed for the width of what's happening, not the depth of what's happening. Whereas the actual sleep is for processing the deep long-term things, especially with NI. So for me, there's still a lot of boundaries. Jeez.
It's okay.
Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm good. So there's still plenty of boundary setting there. Definitely still plenty of like, that's definitely involved. But then with sleep, when it comes to processing, I didn't think I was doing as much as I am. So that, first off, that makes sense. Double feminine, it's whooshing out of me. I'm not solidified there. It's happening, but it's not solid. And the other thing that's going on is a lot of like, it's a lot of like stuff will like click into my head and I'll hear it and I'll be like, is that true? Do I really think that? And I don't know until I'm blasting it. So it's kind of like very much like sneaking up on me, quietly showing up. And then suddenly I'll say something and be like, wait, I really believe that. That actually really matters to me. I've been thinking that for a while. How come I didn't know? And it's just like very surprised. So I have to do a lot of like active, how do I feel about this? What's going on? And like active slowing down and mellowing down to actually trigger that sleep state earlier. So I'm not having it suddenly in a blast where it's like, oh, where'd you come from? Hello. So it's kind of what's going on there when it comes to the processing. In terms of what it's like, it's double feminine, it's NF, it's the whooshiest sleep you can have. Straight up. Like it's the most whooshy, hard to explain. I remember about 2 months ago, what I try to do is between tasks, I try to sit for 5 minutes, no sound, nothing, just 5 minutes. If I want to sit longer, I can, but if I don't, I don't, right? And I remember just having this moment of like, I finally calm the body down and it's calm. My thoughts aren't racing anymore. And I'll think about like a leaf on some water and it's just kind of rippling, and there's this lake and there's a lake house and there's people running around and there's a tree with a swing on it. It's like that's happening in my head, and then suddenly I'm on stage at a TED Talk. So out of nowhere, no context, I'm on stage at TED Talk, and I thought, how did I get here? And it was kind of this, oh, is this where I want to be? I want to be helping other people, forming this, I want to share something with them. That's where I want to be. And that was kind of just like, I may never actually reach that, right? I may never hit that. But it was kind of like, apparently that's what's showing up in there. When I let myself slow down, that's what's coming up. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's how it works for me, is it's very like, there's no connection seemingly between this quiet, like picturesque little cottage by a lake. But then it evolved into, well, who do I want to be? So somewhere in the quietness, who I wanted to be manifested, appeared to me. And I was like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing then. And I formed a YouTube channel. It's my favorite thing, straight up. I love it. I love doing it. I never want to stop. Every single day, it feels better and better to just keep doing it through the good and the bad, through the struggles and the pain. It still feels meaningful, not good, but meaningful, weighty, solid. So it's like, okay, apparently I'm moving the right direction. I will follow that. So that's how, for me, sleep processing works. I hope long-winded blaster there, but I hope that makes sense.
It's all good. I mean, you do have reference sources that the YouTube thing is going to be killer for you. You know, Joe Rogan is the best interviewer in the world, double masculine, jumper, ENTJ. So if you need any proof that this is the right path for you, well, the number one guy in the world for podcasting is, double masculine ENTJ jumper. So I think, you're definitely spot on. Good for your growth too, because you have to consume when you interview people. So it's really great for your growth. Do you have a mantra, by the way, with that NF sleep? So, like Joko Willink is double masculine ESFP, which has the same function as you. And his mantra is discipline equals freedom, right? So do you have like your own like NF mantra that you have in there that you created for yourself? It doesn't have to be his, but like your own version. Yeah.
Yeah, I do have a message that I kind of pull always, which is like, so long as I'm honest with myself and I'm honest with other people about what I really want, like, even if it doesn't go well, it may be painful, may be awful, everything may go to hell, right? But so long as I'm have that core of honesty, that core of myself being put out there, so long as that's out there, I'm at least standing by the one person who's on my side, which is me, because I am forever. Everyone else, there could be a apocalypse and everyone else is gone, and then it's just me, right? And I have to be able to function anyways. So I need to be on my own side. And so for me, it's kind of like it's long-winded. It's because in my head, it's not a literal mantra. It's very much like this. It's a physical feeling in my body that means the words that I'm saying, of where, Gray, I am on your side through thick and thin. I am on your own. I am on my own side, but it's kind of still talking to the self. So it still is Gray. I'm on your side, and then other Gray is like, I'm on your side, and it's like, okay, and now we're good. We're
Yeah.
on. We're on the same page. We're solid. We've got this. No matter what happens, I've got this. And that's like, it's just, I think developing trust with the self is something that the EJs really have to work on, and that's kind of the thing I'm doing. Is like, I have got this. Me, just me. I can handle it. I can handle it no matter what happens. I'm on my own team.
I think it was cool when you started talking about your mantra that you kind of went into the NF state, like you became more gentle and like more.
Yep.
It sounded really pleasant too, which is awesome. I think when you tap into that double feminine side, it's very like soothing. I guess the best way to describe it, like when you brought it up. So it was kind of cool that I saw your sleep and your play talking to each other, because like the play is like rah, and then the sleep is like, okay, well,
Yep.
you know, we're good, and then it's like, oh, that's super
Yeah.
cool, you know. Um, because you're double feminine inside, do you feel very feminine inside?
Yeah.
Extremely feminine?
Yeah. I don't know about it's difficult, right? Because I know how I come across, I know how I behave, because I'm aware of what the tribe has to say about my behavior to a degree. Um, but it's also there's a feeling eternally of they don't know the real me, which is someone who's a little bit scared and a little bit shy and a little unsure, and more than a little, a lot unsure, a lot scared, a lot shy, and very emotional, very nervous about being emotional. That's really scary for me because when it's so ENTJs tend not to respect their own emotions. And then also, like, on top of that, it's very like private because it's FI. So, in addition to not respecting just the feeling realm in general, it's also not respecting themselves. So, it's a double whammy of disrespect. And that makes it really hard when you're trying to be genuine with someone else. You have to expose that part of you. And it's really like, I feel really weak when I'm doing it. I feel really, I do feel scared. I get the rush. I get the chemicals. Even like now, I'm telling you about it. I'm like, and I feel nervous, and the body language is changing. My shoulders are hunching in. I'm getting defensive, and I have to remember, you're fine. It's okay to share. He's not gonna come get you, and even if he comes and gets you, you're gonna be fine.
Right.
And that's a big contrast is I will sit here and I'm like, yeah, you need to listen to me right now because you don't know what the heck you're talking about if I'm going into that TE place, right?
Right.
But that's really all of that is just hiding the yeah, yeah, I've been thinking about some things, hiding that, and both are real. And it's very like weird because when I finally do share this, people go, "What? You're like that? Really? You're like that?" And I'm like, yeah, I've always been like this. Don't you know I've always been like this? How dare you not see that I'm always like this? And they're like, yeah, that's the Gray I've been used to. It's
Yeah.
that Gray who just yelled at me. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. Duality of woman.
Yeah. Well, they're both part of you, right? So
Right.
I think maybe um for double masculine ENTJs, it takes you longer to open up to people. Like you would have to really trust them before you uh would let them see the other half
Yeah.
of you. So like, your husband, for example, would probably seen it no problem. You know, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that sounds about right. I mean, because even Brene Brown talks about, like, you should really only have 5 people or so in your short list of people that sees that vulnerable side of you, that,
Yeah.
that you can trust with that inner part of you. Although it's gonna be harder for you because you're now gonna be going to the YouTube side, so you do have to let that FI out more. Otherwise, you can't connect with people.
For me, like, so one, you're on the money. Like my husband typed me sleep first because he thought all I was doing was preserving energy, and he thought I might be like FI first because he thought I was like, yeah, all you're doing is just self, self, self. Like you're so selfish, you don't care about anybody. And I'm like, wow, thanks. I guess I have to work on that. And it's like, no, no, you don't. Knock it off, Gray. But we didn't. When I come home, I just spent all day being an EJ. So then I come home and I'm like, okay, I can be an IP now. And he's like, holy crap, you're selfish. And he's right, because I'm both. And then the part two is like, yeah, I'm going to have to share more on YouTube, more of my FI, be more honest. But ultimately, for me, there is many layers of FI. There's so many layers. And what I'm trying to focus on sharing is I'm sharing the growth parts. I don't need to give the exact details of what's happening. I can focus on just what is the NF of it, what's happening to me, what's going on, what's the pattern, where's the place that we're going. I don't have to give the exact detail of the fight that I had and then how we resolved it and then what made it better. Like I don't have to do that part. You can just focus on, hey, conflict resolution. How did I screw this up? How am I going to make it better? So on and so forth. And then the other part is kind of just like, I'd rather ultimately people are not going to like me for everything. And you just kind of have to accept they're not going to like my FI. And I'd rather that I show my FI and have them like or dislike it than show it later by accident and have people who thought they liked me or people who I thought liked me then change your minds. I'd rather just be from the get-go honest, stand kind of on my own there and be like, this is who I am. Are you on board? Because if you're not, have a wonderful day. Hope you have a good one. But if you are, let's go. Let's go on this FI journey together. So for me, that's kind of how I'm approaching FI with the YouTube channel, is being like, just be honest. It's better to just be honest and not share everything, but just never lie. I think that's a better way of putting it. Just never lie, never hide. So
Yeah, I think
that
that's
makes
hard.
sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I think
Okay.
that's the hard part about, like, as you get older, that the more comfortable you get with that FI, especially if you have it
Yeah.
in state, especially for you, it's going to be extra hard because it's feminine. But it's hard because as like you said, like when you start showing that FI to people, the real you, some of them will not like it, and it hurts, to get rejected when they don't like the real you. So ultimately, you do have to lead with that FI first.
Yeah.
Just to not waste time, essentially. Just so
Yeah.
people, so the answer right away, even if it's painful, on the front end, where it's like, okay, you know what, this person likes me for me, cool, awesome.
Right.
But then if they don't like you for you, then at least you got your answer. It might hurt when you get
Right.
rejected, but at least
It's
you.
also
Yeah.
genuine then. The pain that you're experiencing is real, whatever. They could hate you and you're like, hey, at least this is real. You're not hating some fake version of me. You're not hating you're not loving some fake version. Whatever relationship we have, positive or negative, is real. I would rather have something real than something fake, is where I've just come down to. And I will use whatever function I need to get a real relationship with somebody. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. um it's hard to, like, for new relationships. I think what you're saying is on point, but it's a little bit harder with pre-existing developed relationships already, like, your friends from high school, let's say, or college or
Yeah.
university and whatnot, because they might not know that side of you yet, and now you're kind of
Yeah.
in a weird reshuffling phase. And like, the more you show the true self, then the more they're kind of like, it's hit or miss, right? They either love that side of you or they don't like it. And then
There's more to lose. Yeah,
yeah,
there's more to lose.
you're gonna lose those existing relationships. What if you
Mhm.
actually like those people too, right? So
Right.
it's really challenging. I think that's what I've been discovering for myself lately too. It's like, oh, some of my friends are like rejecting me now, and I've actually rejected some of my friends too. And
Yeah.
even the ones I rejected, I feel really bad. Like, I feel horrible, because I really treasured those friendships. And the ones that rejected me,
Exactly.
I kind of got caught off guard. It's like, what? But we've been friends for all this time. I thought you'd be cool with it, like hearing the true self. And then, nope, that's not cool.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's just rough. It's rough. The decider issues are real for everyone,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I'm not I'm not a decider, but because I play first, I will have a lot of decider issues, right? Like, so.
Well, and even then, like, like, okay, so like things are something that's real. Like there, if I will still have chaos and control happen to me, and I will also, it's just that I will navigate that with a little more patience. And for you, you will navigate the back and forth of self and tribe with a little more patience than I will, right? But it still matters. It's still, you can still be hurt and people can still hurt you. You can feel alone and you can feel like you're not being seen for who you are. Like there's all of that is still true regardless of what damn type you are.
Right.
Like we are every single human need. So it still hurts. It's very painful. It's very real. So yeah, this is the hard part about growing and giving and becoming a trying to be the person you always dreamed you could be is you end up in this place of, well, now I need people around me who also have as big dreams, who have these big, beautiful dreams, and then also are on board with my dream. And then you find out who's really on board for that. And it sucks because that's something that's not negotiable. That's I think the tough part is it's just not negotiable. It's different if like, hey, do you want the last slice of pizza? Oh, let's split it in half. It's fine. How do you split in half growth mindset? How do you split in half your dreams? You can't. So
Right.
I think that's a problem, is the finality of it.
Right. You're right. That finality part is the worst part, I think, because then
Yeah.
when the dust settles, like there's not much left there. To be honest.
Yeah. Both of us are OE, right? So both of us can be like, is there a way around this? Is there another way? Can we find another way? Can a new, something better? No. Oh, there's really no more options. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay. And
you're just down from there. It's just like,
yeah, it's
and
very
you have to mourn,
disheartening.
yeah, and just mourn your loss. I guess it's
Yeah.
sad. Um, let's go flip to other things now. Let's go double observer. So you are
Yeah.
balanced with things. How do you gather and then organize? Because you're lead gatherer, right? Technically.
Yeah, technically savior gather. It's not going to be as intense as if I was SET, but I'm definitely doing plenty of gathering. A lot of that again through the tribe, back and forth. And then when I do lock on to somebody that I like, especially like once I liked Dave and Shan, I went on a consume binge and I will listen to like the hero's journey 9 videos that Dave has. I have that in a specific playlist that I put on in the morning because I like to listen to that.
Yeah.
That's how I like to wake up a lot of mornings, is to Dave telling me that I need to go be Iron Man and Thor,
Yeah.
So it's like it's nice. It's something that I've latched onto. These are people that I like, and I'm going to take in that information and keep bringing it in. And then I have a routine of doing that. So then I'm sitting there and repeatedly processing what he's saying. And it's very much through the tribe. Both of those are still through the tribe. Somebody else is giving me the information. So it's kind of like just two angles of just reaching the TE, is how do I make this work for myself and others? Well, I have to just keep like first consume every class that comes out, take in every class, go and find other growth mindset people, take in those. I'm hesitant to gather new ones, but we'll go back to the old one and keep gathering more of what they're saying. And then repeat, repeat, repeat. What, like, I kind of view all the introverted functions as a pearl. Like you get that little bit of sand inside of the little oyster, yeah, oyster or clam, whatever the heck, gross pearls, and it starts building up those layers until you finally actually get a little pearl. And it's kind of like I have the information, and now I'm just going to keep going over and over and over it until I have something that's TE workable, and I will do that forever. So it's kind of like that's for me. Get the sand, build on it. It's a beautiful pearl. Take this pearl of wisdom, use it. It'll work everywhere. It doesn't always work everywhere, but I try. So
That's
that's kind of how
interesting.
yeah.
It's interesting you're using a lot of analogies because you're not like lead N, but you're double activated NI. So I guess that's where it was coming from. So I was like, why is Gray abusing analogies all of a sudden? And
Uh, it's also like as soon as I get into type explaining, I get very NT blast because
yeah,
it's very much for me. It's like how do I explain this? And it's just like, okay, well, what do I know? And it's like, okay, this is how it works. And then it's like that's when the blast kicks in. I could tell you about like the literal sensory parts of my day, and you would see, oh my God, so much sensory. She can pull up so much of it. She's not struggling to pull up the sensory. But what I really want to do is, again, I want that sensory. I'm really tracking it for the purposes of how can I then convert that to blast. All of the SE is being converted to blast. So yeah.
I also found it earlier funny when you mentioned that you love that hero's journey part that Dave talked about. Because for me personally, that's the one I dislike the most. But I thought it was. I mean, no offense. I know a lot of people liked it, but
No, it's fine.
for me, it was just like this is so cliche. Like everyone, like this is a no brainer. But But I love but I love his old explainer, you know, like when he first like when Op first came out, after he came back, and then he went on a big rampage, like releasing all those like explainer videos. I was
Yeah.
like to me those were like so gold. I was like, oh my god,
Oh,
you
I
know.
love those too. Yeah, those are great too. It's just
Yeah,
like right now I'm like very like tuned into growth, and then also I've been studying that the hell out of consume last.
yeah,
So like those are the two things I'm like locked in on. So that's like what I'm pulling in the most. Like when I want to study, like okay, I need to understand TE a little bit more. I go to those, and then I go to maybe a class as like a masculine TE, or like if I'm trying to understand FI, I go to there. Like you get the point. Those are just my wake up fun things. But I do think it's funny. Like you're like, no offense, like it's fine. I respect FI. I get you. You're not saying I have bad taste. You're saying that's not to your taste. Oh, good, whatever. So
yeah. Um, well, talk about having double activated NI. Like, is it easy for you to switch back and forth to NF and NT? Like, you'll give like NT blaster lesson, and then you'll support it with NF. Like, you know, what's the point? You know, because NF's all about like, what's the point, right? You know, NT likes to argue, but then NF's like, I don't want to argue because there's no point to it, right? But then, what is the point of this argument, or what is the point of what I'm trying to teach you, right?
right.
So,
Yeah, I think it took me a lot longer to find NF. I think I'm in love with it now. I think I'm like very deeply in love with it. And I've always like Kimbra, for example. I love Kimbra. And of course, she's freaking double activated FENE, like masculine NE. I'm in love with Kimbra. And then like Dallas is someone I talk to a lot. He's again double activated NF, NEFI, double masculine NEFI. It's just like, yes, more. I want that. And I'm noticing I'm pursuing it in so many areas of life because it's what I'm hunting for. The sleep, I'm hunting for the sleep before I'm really hunting for the consume, I think. So it's something where like that's the item I've recently discovered basically for myself is sleep. And I'm like, this is my new favorite thing. I love this. This feels so good to begin to understand why this is happening, what the point of it is. It's kind of like what I'm adopting in right now. And so I'm doing a lot of sleep energy when I'm talking, and I'm letting it show more because I'm like, no, this is good, this is nice, it doesn't have to always be bad or in response to trauma. And like it's definitely an afterthought. Like there's definitely like all right, I'm gonna explain to you how this works, and at the end of the video then I talk to you about growth. Like a lot of my type explaining videos are very much like, here's how it works, similarity, differences, ST, NT, this is how it is. Now let's talk about why this information helps you grow, which the point is to grow and to give and to be bigger, stronger, faster, better, you know, 200% person, you know, that kind of thing is always at the end. It's never first, if that makes sense. So it's very much like I'm using the ST and the NT to hunt down and get to the NF if that all like lines up. And it's something that's new for me. So I'm definitely going a little too excitedly into it. Not doing it calmly with any imagined sanity. Definitely just barreling down into it. So there you go. That's my understanding of what's happening there. So
well, I mean, it means that you're balanced with your two intuitive animals. You know, the NT and NF is more or less like because you love NF now, so your attitude towards it is really positive.
yeah.
So, and if you go all in the NF, it's also not a bad thing because it's third, right? So it's a demon, and whenever you go all in the demon, that is when growth happens. Um, the way I look at I think the most interesting relationship is the first animal and the fourth animal. I think those two are the ones that's super interesting. I don't know if you saw the movie A Beautiful Mind, you know, with Russell Crowe.
I have actually. Yeah.
And you know, in that movie,
Schizophrenia, right?
what's that?
He had schizophrenia as a mathematician.
Yeah, and
Is that the right movie? Okay.
he also always saw those three people walking, and then like or like being in the same room as him. He knows they're not
Yeah.
real, but he can see them, you know. And I feel like that's how you kind of see your first animal. It's like they're always there and they're like abusing you essentially, you know. But
Yeah.
your goal in life is to like ignore that first animal and like go deep into your fort, because that's where the magic happens. And you know, I think that's how he developed that. What is it? The thing that he developed, is it economics or something? Um, you know, so
I don't recall off the top of my head. It's been a while since we saw it in high school for AP Psych, so it's been like 6 years. I don't
yeah,
remember, unfortunately.
it's all good. I mean, the basic gist of it is that even though he had that mental illness, he was still able to create this like awesome thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not awesome for students because they have to learn economics now, but because I hated that.
Economics are cool, says the double activated NT.
Yeah, well for you, but I hated it. So
I don't want to learn it either. Someone else
yeah.
can learn
So,
it.
but the point is, he created that with a huge mental illness, and so he can
Yeah.
like the way I see it is like I feel like your savior is not really your savior. It's more like the demon. You know, it's like the bad guy in your shoulder is telling you to do bad things, like telling you to abuse drugs, and then your demon, your fourth one, is actually the real angel. You know, that's actually telling you what you're supposed to be doing and what you're ignoring. So I think that I think maybe the branding should be changed. Maybe like your first animal should be the demon, because that's like the asshole that's telling you shit that you shouldn't be abusing. And then the fourth animal is your real angel. That's like, hey, come on, listen to me, please. It's like the voice is so weak, right? It's like, please listen to me. And then the big like demon is like, haha, like your first animal. Like for us, it's play, right? No, ignore that person. Go play with a tribe, even if it doesn't make you feel good anymore. Yes, that's right.
Interesting.
You know?
I don't know if I necessarily like I hear what you're saying. I just don't know that's exactly how I characterize it. I think
Yeah.
for me, how I see it is like so the first animal is your saviors. So you kind of that's your hammer and everything looks like a nail, right? Except that like sometimes you just broke it's like how do you put in a window with a hammer? You just broke the window. You needed something different. And that's where it gets abusive because if you just keep smashing in windows over and over again, you're just gonna screw up your life. You're just great. Your house now has no windows. Good job. Great. The winter comes, there's a huge draft. You're not going to like it, right? So you have to go get tools. And this is such a consume last story. It's like you have to actually go out and get new tools. That's the lesson. Go get new things. You'll be
Yeah.
fine. It's
Yeah.
like I was hearing, like, wait a second, this is actually from the perspective of consume last. Like for me, it's like, yeah, I've got this tool and I use this one like a little bit less often. Like, oh yeah, I found this tool like lying in the back of my shed. I actually love it now, and that's my sleep. And it's like, oh wait, I have to go buy another tool. God, I have to get up and I have to go to Home Depot and I have to go. Now I can't work on the project today. It's like very stressful. But then you'll get the new tool and you're like, oh well, this one's so much faster. God, thank goodness I went and did that. No, I never have to do that again for another 2 years. Good. Except oh wait, actually you should be every day checking on what's the project. Okay, what do I need that I don't have? Okay, don't try and jury rig something. Go to Home Depot. Just get the tool and then go do the project. Like just go get the tool first. That seems to be for me how I view it. It's like it's not so much that the hammer is abusing me. It's more like I am refusing to just get up and go get the tool that I need. Refusing to get the new thing that'll make it so much easier because I'd rather just sit here and be like, no, I've got the hammer. I'm just gonna smash the window until it's fixed. That'll go great. I'll see you in 3 years. Let's just keep going. So it's kind of, I think like, it's not like demons or angels. It's very much like breaking things. But that's, consume last story about consume last.
Well, I like how you pretty much like you talked about your own problems and you found your own solution to it, which is consume last, and then
And
exactly.
I caught myself. I was like, oh, there we go. I'm describing consume last and
Yeah.
how to do my demons. Yeah, there we go.
Well,
Whoops.
I mean, that's how you would solve. Okay, well, maybe it depends on the type then.
Yeah, probably.
I think maybe the way I perceive it, because I have sleep last,
Right.
and my sleep is also like the SF side of things. So like maybe it's a bit different for us because your sleep is NF, right? And
Yeah.
so for you need to gather the tools. So for you, that's how you perceive that, because it's SE, right? So it's like gathering physical stuff, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
what do I need to build this house to make it
It's
work?
it's what do I need? It's not about what does everyone else need the house to be. It's what do I need?
Exactly.
Yeah. It is very that is SEFI language. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I
Good
think maybe the
analysis.
way,
Thanks.
yeah, no worries, all good. um, so maybe that's why for me the way I saw it was like angels and demons, where because the SF is like my self-expression, and
Yeah, this beautiful angel is like begging to be heard. Yeah.
yeah, and it's also double masculine. So
Right.
like I've given it some thought like a lot of times, because I think for you your animal stack is your play first, right? But your last
Right.
is not sleep, so it's not like the polar opposites. It's like your last animal is actually the demon of your second animal, so it's not
Yeah.
quite like it's not as extreme, it's slightly more balanced, right? um
Little.
but a little bit, not like it's not the perfect world, but it's slightly, yeah. But like for me, it's the extreme play and then the extreme sleep, And then
Yeah.
my sleep is my play is anti, so I'm trying to problem solve for the tribe. I'm trying to like troubleshoot
Mm.
for everyone. But then really what I really want to do is create things from what I pulled out of my head. And because it's double masculine, it's really offensive. I know it's gonna offend a lot of people, but it's also cool because it's SF. So
Right.
it's like love. It's gonna be like love hate. Like people are gonna love it or they hate it. So it's like for me, I'm like when do I unleash this beast? So it's like, um,
That's so
that's
interesting. Your language there is like unleash this beast. Like you're hearing, you're like identified your own double masculinity there. It's like a beast, it's ferocious. And I'm like, yeah, I have to like really open myself up and embrace the change and like take it in. It's like, wow, that's really soft hippie talk. Like that's really
yeah,
gentle. What
exactly.
the hell? You can
I
see
know
the difference. Yeah.
it is, but
Cool.
then when you bring out that like that hippie that like that gray wearing the tie-dye shirt, like with like paint in your face and shit, it's like please, peace, peace on earth, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like that's like if I ever see you look like that, I already know you're like, oh shit, like you transform to.
Gray's peacocking again. Run.
Also, what's even funnier is that if you're dressed like all hippie and then you're like bossing people around.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be way more fun. Just like the pictures like this, and then I'm like, listen here. All right, you need to get this all together. You have no idea what you're doing. You need to fix
Yeah,
it up right now. Today on this episode, where I'm taking over Kendrick's interview. Like
yeah.
that. That'd be like
And then you have like
that'd be the
yeah, and then you have like pink hair and like a tie-dye shirt. Like,
braids. I got flower crown. Yeah,
and
yeah,
everybody's
absolutely.
confused. They're like, what's going on here? Like, you know,
Yeah, that would be really fun. I'm gonna do that at some point. Like Demon NF and like have a video about it and like do the hippie thing. That'll be great fun. Oh my
like
god.
do it in a
I,
flower field too. Just to make it even more
oh
intense.
my god, get a picture of me like Photoshop myself into the Sound of Music picture, like
Yeah,
spinning.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. I definitely like I will actually probably I will write this down and do this. That's actually something I know that I've been typed by a bunch of people and a lot of them saw info dominance and a lot of them saw SI, especially like I mean you did too, but that's okay. There's nothing, it happens, right? But like it is interesting because I do realize that like my willingness to be like, all right, let's do the weird thing, let's play, let's get jinky with it, like jiggy with it, let's play around, is very like, okay, it's energy dominant. It's like, yeah, we'll consume later. That's later. Right now we're playing. Like, let's go. So it's very like yeah, I think I can catch myself like I'm watching the difference between us, right? And I'm like laughing at myself and I'm playing and I'm like trying to ramp up the energy and like especially with double masculine play, I'm like, ramp up, ramp up. Come on, Kendrick, ramp up with me. Let's go.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going. It's fine. I'm good. Like this is a nice pace for me. We're gonna go back and forth. It's gonna be good. And I'm like, no, 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 ramp up, go, go, go. So yeah, it is interesting watching like I'm beginning to catch the energy dominance more and more and see what
Yeah.
Dave and Shan were seeing. So it's very entertaining.
I didn't even catch that at all. That was so interesting that you brought it
Yeah,
up. Like I didn't see you like trying to ramp up the energy at all. Like because I'm
not consciously, not consciously. It's
yeah.
just something I do all the time. Is I'm always ramping up with. I'm either forcibly ramping down or I'm forcibly ramping up, and not in a conscious way. It's just very. Anytime I enter a space socially, I immediately change the tone of the room just because I have so much energy and so much weight to the play.
Right.
It's just like I control the tone of the room. If I'm angry, the vibe is completely altered because now everyone knows I'm angry because it's incredibly intense. If I'm happy, everyone needs to get on board. It's very controlling in all honesty.
It is,
It's
yeah.
very controlling.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it means you have a
but it
strong
is.
presence, so which is good. Like it's easy. Yeah. I
I'd
mean,
like to fly under the radar sometimes,
yeah.
but I mean, at this point, I'm just trying to accept who I am, and I think for me, like having that weight, it just means I need to use it responsibly. I'm gonna have it whether I like it or not, and if I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna use it responsibly, and I'm gonna be the best person to have it because what I want, the weight and presence that I seem to have, and that effect that I have on other people, to be in the hands of someone who doesn't care and isn't trying to help others. Absolutely not. Which means that responsibility is now on me to lift the weight and be really controlled, understanding, have that knowing what I can do to other people. I have to be like, no, you will do this with care and kindness. You are not going to do this out of neglect and ignorance. I'm just rejecting ignorance basically in my life. So it's
Yeah.
kind of how the play is getting controlled is by rejecting ignorance. If that, well, God, I'm just saying reject ignorance, which is reject, consume, last. Oh my God, my language. Like, just caught myself again, reject ignorance. Wow. Just sorry, don't mind me. I'm just typing myself as we're talking.
You're sleep processing during the interview.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sleep process whether anybody likes it or not. It's gonna happen. So
Earlier we
oh
were
well.
talking about the contradiction, that like you being like a dressed like all hippie and shit, and then like
Yeah.
acting like a drill sergeant while like dressed like that. One time I did a yoga class, and
Yeah.
it was one of those Bikram yoga one, and our instructor, I think he was double masculine. And it's really odd because you're doing yoga and you're supposed to be like very flowy and very like gentle, but he's like walking around, he's like, all right everyone, get to the fucking position. And I was like, is this, what the hell's going on here? Like, what kind of yoga teacher is this? Like,
who got Dale Dye to be the yoga instructor? Like, who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah, he's dropping F-bombs in the middle of the yoga class, and I'm like, I don't want to see anyone doing this move, okay? This is wrong, okay? I don't want to see you do that, okay? And I'm like, what the hell is this? And he's like walking around the room looking at people. He's like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's bad. I'm like, this is a yoga class. Why are you yelling at people? So I thought it was.
Oh my God.
And he was pretty jacked too, right? He has like the double masculine frame, like
right. He's like,
yeah.
Right. Oh my God, that's great.
And I was like, this is so weird. I didn't hate it because it was different, It was
right.
But I thought it was definitely like out of place, but I didn't hate it, But
it was an experience for sure.
Well, I mean, I never forgot it. So, but
right.
That guy definitely did not have FE. He definitely had TE. Like, because he just completely like destroyed the yoga vibe, and turned it to something else. Like it's a yoga boot camp or something.
Oh my God.
Like I don't
That's
know.
awesome. That's like awful, but also awesome. That's so funny. Like that's how like I'm going into my process like, oh my God, I can't. I'm just thinking about what would I be as like a yoga instructor, and I would just like start off with like, this is how you do it, and this is how you move. No, you need to be this way. Okay, you've got it. All right. Now the reason why this all works is because here's what's going on in your body. Here's the chemicals that are flowing, and the reason we want them to be flowing this way is because that way you'll be able to slow down and meditate and be calm. And that was the original purpose of yoga, is to prepare for meditation. Yeah. It's like, oh wow, we just went from how to do to why we do, and why does it all matter in the first place? And did I ever learn to be a yoga instructor? No, I just got the certificate online. So that would be how that animal order would go as me as a yoga instructor. That's hilarious. I love it.
Imagine like someone teaching like high intensity interval training, but like they're like super soft. It's like, okay, everyone. Okay, we're just gonna jump right now, and afterwards we'll do a push-up, okay? All right, well done, everyone. And it's like it's, and even the music is like not like ding, 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 it's like
it's like freaking arabesque Debussy, like do 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 do. It's like that kind of like
out of place. That's like doing like that's clearly someone with no FE, like
right.
Like.
Oh my God, that'd be. Oh my God, that too would be so funny. I'm just sitting
here.
Like,
that would be interesting, though. That would be interesting if someone did.
I would straight up like. I now like want to create a skit where that's happening, where you see like people who got like wrong job fits.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's right.
ISFJ being like, okay, guys, now today, this is your first day of boot camp. So I just want to ask, how are you all feeling today? Did you have plenty of sleep? Oh, you're tired. It's okay. Go take a nap, honey. I understand.
Right.
It's like very much like that. Like that'd be awesome to do that and just have that set up. You're like, oh, honey, you got it. Let me see. Oh, you broke your wrist. We'll get that fixed right away. And then like you have Dale Dye at like kindergarten and being like, just read your books, do A, B, C. No, that is not a C. That is backwards. Just like very aggressive. That'd be really fun. I would totally watch that.
All right, line up now, you little shits. I don't got time for this. Like
pain is weakness leaving the body.
Yeah.
If you cry, you have no friends. Like really abusive.
That person beside you, this person, he hates you already.
He hates you because you're weak and you're wrong. Fix it. Like,
the person beside the person's like, what? I never said anything.
They're like a double decided. They're like, bruh, what do you mean? This is missing info. When did I say this? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Total.
Assuming taking notes with like a notepad. It's like,
The SETI consume is like, yes, yes, thank you for your blast. I understand completely.
oh,
Like, and they just start lifting weights.
I want to ask you about your ST play. Like, what is
Yeah.
do you like to bug people for facts? Then is that how ST play works? It's like because it's like because plays pinging off the tribe, right? So
Yeah.
yours is ST. So there's like the playful aspect of it and humorous, but there's also like the you know trying to exchange something like information or whatnot with the tribe. So because yours is ST, like what is the ping back, the ST ping back happening there?
So first off, I don't know if you saw, but I watched it happen because I'm self-absorbed. But I cracked myself up. But I'm sitting here, I'm listening to your question. I'm like, okay, I need to be ready to go back and forth to this. I need to be ready to play. And like all of a sudden, just like very serious face. I'm like, okay, yep. All right, ready for the back and forth. And it's like, all right, you're throwing me a ball. This is serious. This is a heavy ball. This is going to weigh 200 pounds. I need to be ready to catch this and then yeet it back. I'm ready. It's very serious. It's very heavy. And a lot of it actually, so I'm learning how to make YouTube videos better, and I'm learning how to make them look better. I'm learning, obviously, like I have a different setup than I did before, and it's like the lighting's improved because I have I have a light over here and I have a light behind me, and now I've got light coming in this way. So I've kind of got a much better, I just look better. I look healthier and everything. Um, and all of that is because I've been bouncing off with my friend who's been teaching me how to do all of this. And so I pretty much every time something isn't working, I'm like, hey, John, tell me how to fix it. Hey, John, tell me how to fix it. Hey, John, tell me how to fix it. And I'm just beating his head for the ST. How do I make it work in reality? And he is fine doing that because I'm pretty sure he has SETE play. So he's like, yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll show you how to do that. And it's just like this back and forth, this very, like he was showing me how to use Photoshop to he made me templates for all my little videos. And so we were going through and he was like showing me how to work with it. And there was just like so much like bouncing, laughing, giggling, like just having fun, going back and forth on how to make it work, yelling at the computer, laughing about yelling at the computer, just very like having fun, not stressed about the things. Neither of us are very good. I think he's a decider. I think he's actually Shan audio, but just like all this back and forth is very comfortable, not stressy. And I'm learning at the same time. And he's getting to teach in a way that's like he's literally showing me instead of like teaching me instructions. He gets to show me how it works. And I get to learn by him showing me. And then I get to practice right in front of him. He can point out what I'm doing wrong. It's that kind of thing, like very making it work in a back and forth is like my ideal setting. And I can get very goofy and have fun learning. If that makes sense. I do really good with like mentorship in that way, because if I have someone going back and forth with me, and then I can like, all right, so you show me how to do it. Okay, now I'm going to do it with you watching, and now I'm going to explain to somebody else how it works. I'll blast it, and then I've got it down. The medical residency and like see one, do one, teach one, that is entirely how I learn. And so that's been really good, because then when I explain back to him, hey, this is why I did this thumbnail, I did this, and this, he's like, great, good job. I didn't teach you 3 of those things, because once you had pulled from me and gave back to me, you were willing to go make the work later. So that's kind of for me how the TESE play, the ST play really kicks in, is like it gives me that back and forth, gives me permission to then go learn for myself, because I know that I'm on the right track thanks to the tribe member. So it kind of gives me a little bit of freedom to consume, because now it's in my known. It's once I know the information because I played, it's in my box. Now I can go consume to make the box bigger, more complex, more effective. Long-winded blast.
Oh, it's all good. Where's the ST reporter coming? Like, where does it come into play? Like the ST reporter part.
So I can tell you pretty much everything that happened today. You can ask me like, all right, so I woke up at 3 this morning after I went to bed around 1 this morning. I woke up at 3, don't really know why. Got up, checked my phone, so I had an email coming back, read the email, said, okay, cool, went back to bed. I was listening to my sleepy time playlist, which has 3 different Legend of Zelda like comps on it that has like rain in the background, and then a bunch of other like 2-3 hour things that have rain in the background. I'll like move around the playlist so I get like a little bit different sound, but I like a same initial song because that like gets me to sleep fast. And then so like I woke up at 8. I have ADHD medication. I take that, then I actually nap for another hour while I wait for that to kick in. So I slept for another hour. Then it was 10, kind of screwed around my phone. I can do this all day. I'll stop now because no one wants to hear the rest of my day. Right. But I can literally go through and give you all of that.
Oh, I
really
see.
What was the point of today? today was a day that I spent a lot of time working on one of my videos coming up. That was it. That's why am I doing that? Because it really matters to me that I make videos and not just do live streams. So there you go. I can give you the ST of what I did in a very literal way. I can then tell you, well, why am I doing what I'm doing? So I can make videos. Well, why does that matter? Because I think I know enough about personality after 10 years of following these personality systems that I have something real to share. So it's like, that's kind of the order of operation, so to speak. But there is so much of that ST kind of reinforcing everything else that it's more like it sneaks in until you finally ask me, hey, what did you do today? And I'm like, all right, get ready. It's time to blast. So
Do you
yeah.
also like to like see what people are also what they also did in their day? Do you also want them to report to you because of that ST play? Like because it's back and forth, right? So when you ask people how was your day, do you also want them to give you a report on their day?
Yes and no. It's frustrating sometimes because if someone gets into the minutia of something I don't know very much about, I get frustrated because I can't attach it to anything that I know. But I also get irritated if, for example, someone doesn't tell me anything about their lives. And I'm like, yeah, I actually don't know what you do at all. Like you've given me no details. So
Like
I'm just guessing.
like a sleep consumer consume sleep person who doesn't say anything.
No, this is something. Oh, sorry, Reggie, I'm dragging you to this. I straight up, like, it took me forever. Like, I knew he was in sales, but like, I didn't know anything else about what his job actually entailed because he has never described it
Yeah.
ever. And I actually, like, he still has never told me exactly what's actually he's doing at his job. My husband, I actually sat him down and made him tell me what he does at his job. Now I understand what he does at his job. Can I ever blast it? No, because I lost it right out of my brain.
Yeah.
But like, I know as I have an idea of it now, right? And with Reggie, I'm like, he's in sales,
I didn't even know what his
maybe.
job was.
Yeah, because he doesn't ever talk about it because that's in the freaking ST. And he's like, nah, get that out of here. I'm busy. I got to talk about Nietzsche and Jordan Peterson. I've got to talk about Gary Vee. That's the NF. That's what I'm consuming is the patterns of how to make it, how to be valuable and the patterns of how to make it work. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but like, what do you do for a living? He's like, oh yeah, sales. Anywho, Jordan Peterson. Anywho, Gary Vee. I'm like, oh
Right.
my god. So that's like for me, I get really
I guess
irritated with that. But
I guess that's why they flipped him, right? Because he was play blast. He was my type twin, and then they switched him to play consume blast sleep, right? So
yeah,
I think that's why because the NF was so much stronger than the ST.
his NF is really like his consume is actually pretty solid. Like I have to say, he goes in, he consumes a lot of Gary Vee, and I'm like trying to consume to learn about YouTube. I'm like really putting in the hours to force myself to, especially at work. I have a playlist of just like branding in YouTube that I throw in videos that I see throughout the week, and then I started the last video where I ended, and I just keep listening to that. An 8 to 10 hour shift is that entire playlist. It's a lot of consume and it's fine because my body's moving and I can do other things. So I'm not like getting bored or feeling unproductive. So it kind of, I can try kind of trick the blast into cooperating, but he's doing it for fun without interruption, without needing to do other things. I don't understand how.
Well,
I don't, I get conceptually how consume works, but for me, it's like, how do you actually have time to do everything that you're doing and also do that much consume? I don't like my brain doesn't get it. Like physically, I imagine trying to do that. I'm like, I'd never get anything done ever, but he gets things done. And like people have consumed get things done. So it's like, clearly I'm wrong. I know I'm objectively wrong, but subjectively it feels like, how do you get anything done learning all day? Don't you have to go do things? So
yeah.
very projection laced.
Well, his consumes NF, so Gary Vee's blast is NF, so it's like the right match.
Right.
So your consume is SF, so I think for you it's gonna be easier to consume entertainment and like stuff that is like fun and whatnot than like Gary Vee kind of stuff. Just because of where your stack is, like when Dave consumes flying those airplanes, like
Right.
you're not making the world a better place flying those airplanes. You're just flying it just because it's fun, right? So I think for you, it's consuming. Like I noticed that with ENTJs in general, it's like you guys love consuming like fun things.
Yeah.
You know,
Art. Yeah.
yeah, art or like
Art makeup is improved. Yeah, that's
makeup.
true.
Yeah, a lot of and I noticed this with ENTJs. There's a lot of ENTJs are really good with like the SF. Like
Yeah.
ENTJs are like if they're a girl, they're really good with makeup.
Hmm.
If they're a guy, they're pretty fashionable usually. And then they're like they like a lot of things that are I guess you could say like more materialistic kind of things. Like I have a buddy who's like he's an ENTJ, and he said, you know, like he loves sailing on a sailboat because it's like what cool people do, and then it's like he loves like uh, you know, he bought like a full cycling outfit that costs $1,000 because it's like badass, you know, like it looks badass, and
Okay.
you know,
That's
it's
in his
like
FI. Cool. Yeah. All right.
yeah, and that's where his FI is, right? And you know, I just noticed that with the ENTJs, it's like you guys love to consume like the cool stuff, you know, what the cool things, you know.
Yeah. Okay, I do see that. But I think where I'm like really honing in is like with what Gary's talking about with like branding, because I've been trying to consume some Gary as well. And then also like I've been following a lot of Nick Nimmin, and he does a lot of teaching like how to make better YouTube videos.
Right.
And for me, it's like I need to learn how to make my YouTube videos SF cool. So
Right.
I'm drawing in. It's like I'm learning how to, but it's still about the SF. And that's like where I'm pulling. And Gary Vee is still SF play. So I'm getting a lot of SF for him. What is valuable to the tribe on a spectrum in a very literal way. I'm still getting a lot of that. So I think I still have a high tolerance. I have a high tolerance like Gary and stuff, but like I definitely feel as though there are probably, you know, I have to go look at and see if I can get, I'll have to go check the 512 doc and see if there's any like ESFJ or ISFJ like YouTubers that like teach about YouTube. Because I bet like I'll be able to like grab what they're saying and use it super easily. That's a good point.
Probably,
That's
yeah.
actually really, yeah. Excuse me, I'm gonna write that down right now so I don't forget. Check 512 doc.
Yeah, no, I think that you were on point too, because there's two ways we can consume, right? We consume with play
Right.
and consume. So with Gary Vee, you can consume half his stuff, right? With the play, because he has SF play, right? So
Right.
like for me, like I love consuming stuff from INTJs, especially talking to them, because I have, you know, NT play, right?
Right.
So
Right.
they love blasting, so they get to blast, and I get to like ping off them, right? And then
Right.
with INFJs, you know, they're blasting their NF stuff to me, and I'm just like consuming it, right? Um, so it's really interesting how that works. I think it's also interesting too, like with the, you know, because you're an INTJ, right? Oh, sorry, you're an ENTJ. I'm an ENFP.
Close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm an ENFP. So, I do notice that a lot of my close friends are ENTJs or INTJs in general. Like my girlfriend's an INTJ. You know, Jumper. She's like the least NP of all INTJs. Um, and she actually caught herself a few times like not understanding NT stuff because it's NT,
Yeah.
right? But I think from like a relationship standpoint, I just think like maybe, you know, the reason why, you know, the people with your function stack, you know, ENTJ, INTJ, and whatnot, you know, even the ESFP and ISFP perhaps, and then me, like my consume is NF, and that's your sleep, right? So I like to get to know the real you, because
Yeah.
and then for you, your consume is SF, and that's my sleep. So you like to get to know the real me, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, from a relationship standpoint or friendship standpoint, that's why it's easier to make friends with, like, long-term friendship. We're talking about long-term friendship here,
Right.
because like when someone with like my function stack and your function stack get together, it's like I actually want to know the real you. I don't want to
Yeah.
see that bullshit ST play that you're doing.
Right.
It's like fake you, right? I want the real you. And you're like curious, you know, like you know.
Well, and I think especially with like I'll grab ENFPs because they're kind of easier because I'm not super like I'm really I really like Kim, and I'm friends with Reggie, I'm friends with Dallas, and so you know a couple of ENFPs there, different, obviously very different ENFPs,
Right.
but still both ENFPs. And obviously you and I are interacting and this is very fun, so I'll likely be friends with you and message you more often.
Of course.
But like all three, like I have noticed that we tend to share, it's just kind of very natural, not consciously asking for it, but just it just became very natural actual sharing of what's really going on.
Right.
And that is actually, I would actually agree with that assessment. I think that's accurate. um I think because, especially because we share FI, when someone shares their FI with me, I'm seeing that and I go, I understand, this is serious, it's personal to you, yes, of course. And there's various levels of ability to defend that and be confident in it within the groups that three people I just mentioned. But there's still always the sense of this is personal and it's serious because it's personal, not in a it's serious because demon state, but serious because personal. And that's very, very powerful in a dynamic. That being said, I still love TI, but it's a different sort of relationship that I have with TI's users than I have with FI users. It's a little, uh, this is different. I wouldn't even say it's more or less personal. It's just a different sort of personal, I would say.
Like a
So,
business kind of relationship, like a business kind of friendship, in a way, or
like, I kind of view, like, I'll use Ben. Ben and I are pretty, I would say, decent friends. I really like talking to Ben because we have that shared, like, SE and I feel like when he shares his NI idea with me, I'm like, oh, yes, this is serious. Okay, let's go. Yeah, yeah, I'm on board. I want to pay attention now. I get it because mine's serious too. So there's like again a matching there. And then like I'll use Prem as an easy example. He's NETI, completely opposite quadrant from me, but he likes to consume my blast.
yeah,
So he really wants to know what my NI is. I'm like, oh, I can give that to you. That's easy. And he's like, oh, wow, interesting. And he's like consuming and coming at it from all different angles. It's honing my blast. So it's like the sword gets sharper and sharper. And it's very enjoyable to have that dynamic. So it's kind of like his consume gets better and better. My blast gets better and better. It's very much like every single type, you have a unique relationship with them. And it's really enjoyable to kind of see the different kinds of personal development and personal closeness that you can develop with somebody, you can have with somebody. I think it's beautiful personally. I like the spectrum of relationships. What a shocker as an EJ. But it does come down to like it's very different each quadra, but definitely fulfilling, enjoyable each quadra. I don't there's not really a type I don't like. Never met a type I don't like.
yeah.
So yeah.
Just
And
a
people I thought I didn't like, I
person.
end up liking usually once I know them. So
Your NI. So you said that you like to like Prem or like those guys, like Benjamin or whatnot. You said that you like to gather what their ideas are, their NI. And
with Ben, yeah, Ben,
yeah,
I like to kind of connect with Ben's NI. Yeah,
yeah, and then Prem likes to hear your
NI. Yep.
NT blast. Um, do you find yourself forgetting a lot of the concepts that you know because it's feminine?
If I don't talk it out, yes, that's a big thing. Is once I talk it out, it kind of gets like reinforced. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Oftentimes, like you can watch my body language. I just reinforce it physically, and also when I talk with my hands. So now I'm reinforcing it kind of in a sensory way. My body will remember even if my brain doesn't, and that's something I've always had decent. Like I won't say I have good up here memory. I have a very good muscle memory, and that I think is where if I need to remember a concept, if I need to remember a feeling, I need to do the same physical action, or I need to be in the same physical place, or I need to hear the music. I need to have, once I have the sensory correct, then and I will come right flooding right back. And so talking it out with people and hearing their concept and then engaging, going back and forth like this, like grounds it and makes it solid in the memory. If that makes sense. I know that makes sense. I don't know why I was about to ask.
Okay.
TE ping.
And would you say your ideas are personal then, since it's NI?
Oh god, I get really nervous about showing my analogies. Like the pearl, like I've shared that a couple of times in like a bunch of different videos. Every time I still like do this body language. It's a personal little pearl
Yeah.
because I feel personal about sharing the analogy. When I could do, yeah, this is like a pearl that you build up over time. This relaxed body language is totally fake. I'm not confident. I do feel like this when I share it.
Wow, that's
There's
interesting.
There's another one that took me forever to actually share. It was my understanding of TIFE versus TEFI, where like TE is like, okay, well, I need like, okay, you're in a frozen wasteland. I need shelter. TE just builds a quick little igloo and says that's good enough. And then once it gets in there, how do you keep an igloo warm? You build a fire. So it builds this big roaring FI fire, and it only lets a few people in because the igloo is small. So it's like I threw it together. It works for everyone. Everyone can make an igloo, and then you let your few people come in and be warmed by your big warm fire. TIFE is going to build an ice palace. It's big and beautiful. It's very precise. It's all straight, rigid lines. It's this gorgeous ice palace, and then they hand you a torch because they'll just give out torches to, yeah, we just share. Yeah, everyone. It's a spectrum of emotion. Here, have a torch. It will keep you warm. And if I like you enough, I will let you into my ice palace. If not, not my problem. You have a torch. You're fine. It's very like that's FE. I'll give a torch to anybody. I don't care about handing out torches. My ice palace is what's special.
Yeah.
But the cold, logical ice palace And then for me, it's like, yeah, my cold igloo, I can teach anybody how to make an igloo. That takes 2 seconds, whatever. Igloo's easy. But my campfire, I'm only letting you in. I only have so much room. I can't let everybody into my campfire. So it's a very different, like, what's special. And yeah, I use the hot and cold because I view feelings as warm, and quick to move. So fire works, and then the logic is cold and detached. So, that's going to be your ice palace or igloo. So there you go. That's like my NI analogy. And I get very nervous about sharing that one. I think I've said that on video twice, and then I've shared it once on Discord, I think.
Yeah.
And then otherwise I don't like talking about it.
No, that's so
So,
interesting that
yeah.
you get uncomfortable like sharing that, because for me, I have NE, right? So I just abuse that like no problem, and I don't feel any like apprehension when I share it.
Yeah.
But a while back, I was talking to Kevin Starkey.
Yeah. Oh, I love Kevin.
Yeah, no, I was telling him about my business idea, and then he noticed that I was acting weird, when I was telling him about it, and then
You're getting weird right now.
what's that?
You're recounting the story and you're like, yeah, I was
Yeah,
getting
no,
kind of weird.
he completely saw it. Like he saw it with his FE, right? He saw I was like acting.
Right.
I was getting really weird about it because I'm sharing my SI, right, which is personal. It's
Right.
like what I narrowed down, and then he was like, hey, just stop, okay? Like you're doing fine. Everything you're saying makes sense, and it's really good. Just keep going. I know you're getting weird about it, but just keep going. I'm like, okay, thank you. I needed that. Because
Thank
like
you for the
I was getting weird. I did know I was getting weird about it. Because I was like,
Thank you. DE, thank you. Yeah.
no, because it's my last. It's my fourth animal,
Right.
my fourth function. Sorry, and like I've been spending my whole life putting it together. So it's like I was like, can I share my known information that I've
Yeah.
taken the time to gather? Is that okay? It's
Yeah.
like it's like with your FI, right? It's like, oh, can I be me? Is that okay? It's like
Yeah. And the other thing I've noticed is it's all about like all the other animals, like everything is trying to get to the last function. So I'm trying to create a conceptual framework that works for everybody, that I know works in reality. So then we all have permission to be ourselves.
I see.
Once it works in reality, and I know it works because I figure it out, I understand the pattern of things at work, and I check to make sure it worked in reality. Once I do all that, then we can all be ourselves because everything is working just fine and nothing will go wrong ever again. That's not how reality works, but it's a nice idea in little savior land, right?
Yeah.
If I just do these things, I'll actually get to be who I am. And with SI, it's like, okay, I'll use ESTJs because it's a little bit easier for me to convert to because I get them a little bit more because I don't the point. They are like, okay, I need to create a physical environment that works for everyone. I know that it works for everyone. I know that the physical environment works because I've spent gathering all the different concepts that exist and actually looking at and comparing like, okay, this is this person's understanding versus this person, like economics, one person's school versus this person's school. It's all conceptual. And then I build a framework, it works. Okay, now we can be ourselves. It's like once we've made it work physically, and then I've gathered and like checked the different schools against the physical structure I made. It's a literal schedule of like, if we all do that, like trains, if all the trains go in this way, and I've studied all the different ways you could lay out trains conceptually, once we build the optimal like subway setup in a city, everyone will get to work on time, and then we can be who we want to be at work. It's like, what? It's so cool when you actually figure out like that's the chain of events. And for you getting down to that, I want it to be organized. I want it to work. I want it like, especially with TE, wanting it to work. And then SI is like, yeah, in reality, I want to build something. I want to see it with my own hands. I want to know when it's going to happen. So I have to go gather all the different ways it could work. I have to then teach others, hey, here's all the different things with TE. Does this work for you? This is what I know works. It's like it's all to get done to the SI of making it, building something for yourself. I love OP. It makes it so much easier to talk and blast and teach you about your own type, because why? Oh, blast. Oh, blast.
All good. So great. I have a few more questions, and then we'll wrap up the interview. So
Yeah.
do you have any FI bucket lists or so first question is, do you have any FI bucket list? And second one
Okay.
is, what are your top 5 values, personal values?
All right. That one's gonna be harder. I'll start with the bucket list.
Yeah.
I'll go with like so I'll kind of say what I want to be in like 10 years, where like have house, I've been steadily working at like kind of like paying it off, got my husband, also been working on having some kids. I'd really like to, in 10 years, kind of be done doing dog grooming and kind of fully doing online business with like YouTube, possibly coaching, that kind of thing. I'd like to be fully integrated towards that in 10 years, but I might not be. I'd like to be, but that's a dream. So like that's kind of like part of the bucket list, is like that's who I'd like to be in 10 years, is like an official full-time YouTuber and coach. A lot of consume to do between now and then. God. The other thing I would say is I really want to actually get into martial arts. That's something that actually really matters to me, is learning, because I haven't really been exercising the way I used to in high school, and I really like doing it. And I think it will give me a lot of confidence in myself to know that I can, I have more physical control over my body, because it teaches you to be physically controlled all the time, not just in combat or sparring, but also in just your general life. And also there's a lot of meditative utility to like going through katas. So it's the kind of thing where like I would really like to do that kind of for my own growth and for building myself up and having that confidence in myself. And I'd say the other thing is like a lot of travel. I'd like to, I actually want to try and with my husband kind of plan out some vacations for next year. And then also in the long run, I'd really like to go see where all the different countries in Europe where my family is from, because like Barnard Capen like came over to the US like I believe in like the late 1600s, and he came over with his 7 kids at the age of 72. Like absolute mad lad. There, I want to go see where this mad lad is from. I want to go see England because that's where he's from, and I want to go to Poland where my grandmother was a first generation Polish American. I want to go to Poland and see the land where she comes from and actually get to like not get to know the people, because it's still not the same thing, but it's like this is where we stood, like we the Kowalski line stood, and like kind of know like this is where I come from. And for me, knowing where I come from in many ways, like it kind of gives me like this SE grounded space to know where like every time I visit somewhere that means something to me, it like kind of like wraps into, and now I know who I am is where I want to be going. If that makes it sounds weird, but that's kind of how it is. It kind of solidifies like, and now I know who I am a little bit more, and it's just solidifies the FI a little bit. I don't know why that's how it works. It's just how it works for me. So that's definitely like on the bucket list. There's a lot of different traveling. Like I'd like to meet Dave and Shan, for example, because I care about them a lot. I really I do. I find them very enjoyable, kind people, who are hilarious, and they do their best to be kind to all of us. So I really like them. And they got me into this growth mindset stuff, which thank God. So I definitely want to meet them. That's like serious. Like I'm trying to think. You know who else I'd like to meet? Actually, I'd really like to meet Tony Robbins. I really like him. He's been super influential on me. Tony Robbins. Who else would I really like? Like there's a lot of people that it's very people focused. But it's like stuff like that where it's like I'd like to get to know them as people, not just as like, people I see on the internet. That's like for me, I want their FI. I want to get to know them as people, kind of go a little bit deeper. So that's why I like that's like a dream of mine to get to meet people like that. I may never meet them, but whatever. This is a nice dream. And then top 5 values. Oh God, this is the hard part. Oh, fuck. For me, this is all for me. This is not blaster advice for anybody else, because it depends on what kind of type you are. This is not going to be blaster advice. This is great advice. Be on your own team, because no one else is going to be there for you.
Do you have a single word? Do you have a single word for the values?
No.
Okay.
There's no single word. It's usually sentences. But yeah, be yourself, because no one else is going to be there. So I guess like value self. That's 2 words. Value self.
Hold on a second, because the values are usually a single word. Like, for me, like it's.
Are they?
Yeah, no, I'll give you an example. Okay, let me give you an example first, and then we can try again.
Okay.
Okay,
your blast is wrong. Get it out. Get it.
you got a blast. You're sharing your function. Yeah. I just punted it, to the encoder.
Great.
Yeah.
Fuck your FI. Get that out of here.
Okay. So like yeah.
God, I love double deciders. Dude, that was ballsy. Good for you, dude. That was great.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
It's all good. But so
I can.
Okay, so my top 5 values, for example, obviously I'm an EP. So
Okay.
number one's freedom. No shit, because I'm an EP. Number 2 is courage or authenticity. Number 3 is growth. Fourth is courage, and fifth is honesty. So those are my
Oh
top 5
man.
values that I live with. So whenever I make a decision on my day-to-day life, I always check with those values first, and I never break them. Like
Okay. Okay.
I don't remember the time any time where I actually like broke any of them. Like even if I feel like I'm gonna embarrass myself or make myself look like a jackass, like I will still be me, because that's my value. It was authenticity and honesty, right?
Mm.
Like I could lose a customer, but I don't care because I'm gonna stick with my values. So that's kind of like how the values work. It's like regardless of what happens, you're gonna stick to those. So do you have like I'll give you more examples if you need to process it, but
No. It's just that's gonna be harder because I don't usually narrow down values that much. For me, they're much more wishy-washy, especially being the double feminine sleep makes that a little bit harder to like really tighten and narrow down. I will do my best. Um, I would actually say number one is self. Number one is value self. That is obligated to value self. Two, family. That's so the dichotomy there. Self versus family. Family is very important to me. That's like it's huge. Three, growth. I would agree with growth. Growth is a good one. That's like definitely a big one, especially that's something that's kind of new that I've adopted, but definitely so self, family, growth. God, this is hard. This is like a challenge. This is like get your shit together 2021. Narrow your values down to one word each. God damn. Um
the self one is more like individual. That's more like that's what it is.
yeah, but
The individuality. I think that's more like the self.
yeah, I mean, the exact SI of the word for me isn't as particular, like, because I know what it means, and I'm like, yeah, whatever you want to call it, whatever. That sensory's not personal, sure. Individuality, I'll take it. Like, I don't care. Yeah, let's do individuality, family, growth. Okay, those are good ones. I don't like individuality because the number 4 is actually independence, which is kind of like your freedom, but it's like it's kind of more like independence to do what I want, not like freedom per se. It's definitely independence. I'll rephrase liberty. I'll do liberty, individuality, family, growth, liberty. I like those.
Maybe you're saying self-expression.
It's
No?
just liberty.
Okay.
Um, what would be the last one? Give. Yeah, give. I like that.
Generosity.
Okay, so, sure. I just grabbed. I remember just suddenly like Tony Robbins of the 2 secondary spiritual needs, growing and giving, and I was like, well, give has got to be on there because I agree. So give. That exact order, I feel like it's not always in that exact order. Sometimes it moves, but like that's the 5 I would say: individuality, family, growth, giving, or generosity, whatever, and liberty. Those are like the big 5, I would say.
Well, Tony Robbins
Yeah.
is feminine FI, right? So if you listen
Yeah.
to like his audiobooks, he actually says that you can change your values. So I think that's because he has feminine FI, so it does move a lot.
Well, I think that's what's so hard about what you're asking is I'm like, oh God, you want me to solidify this down to one word?
Yeah.
Like, okay, like
Yeah.
this
No,
may change next week. I'll do my best.
well, no, Tony Robbins does have them in one word, but that what is within that 5 can change in his.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's
He's got a lot of years on me, I'll get there eventually, but I'm Bubba. I'm working on it. I'm getting bigger and stronger every day, 1%. But like, man, what that was hard. Good exercise. That's bully all EJs with that. That's great. Make us all. Do you make everyone do that?
I think I've actually asked a lot of EJs this question, and it's
Good.
they have
Awesome.
the same response as you. So
Fuck yeah. Good. I love it. Do that more. I that delights me.
no, well,
This
no, I don't,
pleases
I
me
don't,
greatly.
I don't do it to the TI ones because they don't have self values. Um, but the ESFJ, they don't almost exist. There's like barely on any of them. So
I know. There's Julia. Just interview Julia a lot of times. Make her put on a wig.
Yeah, Julia and her type twin, I think, were the only two ESFJs I've interviewed.
Mm,
Amanda, I don't know if you've seen her. She's the other ESFJ in the group. There's only
I
two of
don't.
uh,
Maybe I have. I don't know.
yeah.
Who
And
knows?
no, there was three ESFJs. I interviewed another one, the jumper one, you know.
I'll have
She
to look. I'll look.
Yeah, she kind of looks like I Justine actually. uh,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, so yeah, I don't ask them the TI stuff. That would be interesting though. I don't know what like TI, like what is their truths? I don't know. Like,
Yeah, ask them what they're choosing, or ask them what they believe, because that
yeah,
would imply what they think is true about the world.
true, that makes sense.
So yeah, ask them
Uh,
what they believe.
so one last question, Greg, because my girlfriend's home. I gotta go to Costco. Um, so last question is, how do you plan on developing your FI better and as well as your SF consume?
um, so I've decided for me personally, and I have this rule on all of my YouTube videos now, that it's not so much about FI specifically, it's about I am now responsible for feeling. Because if I do not do the feeling, either FE or FI on the front end, then I cannot make it work. And if I want to be TE, I have to do the feelings. So it's kind of, for me, it's just feelings in general. And a lot of that is straight up a lot more emojis, using a lot more emojis to indicate goodwill. Like I want to indicate I am not trying to punch you. I am trying to just talk, trying to soften what I'm saying, trying to slowing down is huge. That's like the number one thing I'm using to like develop the DI, FI, and just general self, is like when instead of reacting with play or blast, do like really just no, withdraw, solidify. What do you want? Where are we going? Does this serve you? Now move. It's like slowing down is like the number one thing I'm using. And it's definitely like sleep, but it's what I'm using to kind of like, once I do that, I have a lot more when I do actually decide, okay, now I'm moving. I have all of the weight and punch of the double masculine. When I actually slow it down and control it, it's like, okay, this punch is going to hurt so much more. It's so much, basically force is more intense if it's over a small area versus a large area, and with play it's just scattered smashing, so it's not actually effective. It doesn't have the same precision, the same punch. But when I actually slow down and go in and then I swing outwards, that is going to be significantly more intense and have a lot more power and get what I want. And that, what I want, is what matters, because I ignore it all the time. So I have to really prioritize it. And I'd say with consume, I try to do like a new food, new 1 or 2 foods every week. I'm trying to do new songs every week. I try to grab onto stuff like that. I'm trying to learn about YouTube every week, and tracking what I have. That's a big thing right now, is tracking. Hold. Okay, I'm trying to track trying to track that consume when I'm having consume panic. I'm being like, no, you're fine. You can handle the new. You've got this. No one's coming after you for not knowing a thing. You just need to learn, and kind of calming the animal down. And then also, yeah, doing a little bit of safe consume where it's small and it's not something I have to commit to super intensely. I think a lot of it's fear of commitment too. I don't want to commit to consuming something, because what if I don't like it? What if it doesn't work for me? So get skittish.
I like that advice you gave to yourself about using emojis, because when I talk to ISTPs and they're trying to figure out how to use FE better, I just tell them, you know what, man, you can achieve you can say the exact same thing that you're saying right now, and all you have to do is add an exclamation mark at the end, and it's a completely different meaning. And then you can even emphasize the message even better by adding a smiley face in the end, and then you don't come across as a TI asshole anymore. Instead, you're like
Yeah,
you're
there's
like the
a lot of it's tone too, because if I say, hey, you hurt my feelings right now, that's intense, versus, hey, that kind of hurt my feelings and I really didn't like that.
yeah.
I wish you would stop. Like, there are two very different tones there. One of them is much more like, hey, like, this is feeling, it's soft, I don't like this, versus like, okay, now I'm bashing you with TE. Like, you gotta, once you soften it and you actually show that little bit of feeling, a lot of times people will back off because they didn't actually mean to hit your feelings. And if they, this is so EJ of me, if they don't back off when you do that, you kind of are like, okay, now I get to walk away or actually bring out the TE hammer, because it's like, all right, this person, you're sharing a boundary. Hey, I don't like this. Please stop. Can you explain why you're doing this? Hey, what's going on here? When you do that good faith gesture and someone doesn't reciprocate, now it's like, all right, no. I made a good faith gesture, genuine good one. I put out my identity. And now, like, I didn't just assume you were going after my identity. I actually said, hey, I'm feeling something that may not be real. What's going on? If someone says, no, you are a special snowflake, how dare you? It's like, oh, okay, that's how we're gonna dance. All right. Then it kind of gives you a little bit of permission to actually use the TE. So if you, it's just very much slow down, be honest, and then make a judgment call, walk away, keep talking, beat them up, whichever. So
All right, great. Thanks for doing this interview today. Thanks for reaching out too and scheduling this with me. That was very
absolutely.
awesome to talk to you today and get to know you better.
Thanks for having me.
I think you actually know your FI pretty well. I think the thing about you is that it's more like showing it. It's not like you don't know it. It's just like showing it. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks again. And
thanks for having me.
And, yeah, take care.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.